My victim. I am the writing on the wall, the whisper in the classroom. Without these things, I am nothing. So now I must shed innocent blood. Come with me.
Chris Scouser here with
Matt Howell. And this week on the first run, we continue to work our way down the sex worker ladder with Sean Baker's latest, Anora. Then we highlight an extremely specific and relatively unlikely, but no less valid, danger of religion with Heretic. As always, we give you the big releases on physical media, the Viper video and streaming picks of the week, then wrap this all up with our 5 favorite roles where actors played against type. So, Chris, let's get this party started and give us a little bit of Anora.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, go. Go get married.
Yes, let's get married.
You asshole.
Why?
Don't fucking cheese me with that shit, okay?
Stop.
It ain't cool.
Stop. Annie,
Yeah?
will you marry me?
Seriously?
Seriously.
So you wanna get married to me, Vanya? You want me to be your little wifey? Yeah?
Yep. No, it appears so. That is a clip from Matt Anora, as Matt introduced Sean Baker's latest, I would dare say, they use the word odyssey almost, in a way. How do we do this, Matt? So I have to explain what it is? No, you asked me, because you do the edit. You think after 4 years of doing the back and forth, I'd have it down.
Yeah, so you have to explain. So you have to tell us what Anora is all about. But because we're doing a second movie, I will have to tell the audience what Heretic is all about.
Okay. So, as Matt said, Sean Baker returns. I think for me, after the lackluster Red Rocket, some people like that film, didn't really work for me. But this time, Mikey Madison, who I believe, too, Baker actually wrote this film for her. He saw her, I don't know if it was in Scream, I don't know what he saw her in, but he's like, he was just inspired to kind of write this film. And so Mikey Madison plays Anora, Annie, as she refers to herself. She is a stripper in Brighton Beach, which is kind of the Russian-speaking part of Brooklyn. And this young kid, Ivan Vanya, comes in looking for a Russian speaker. The two of them hit it off. They meet outside the club. He pays for her for a week. And then as they get a little intimate, as the kids call it, they decide to get married so he could stay in the United States and she can finally now live that pretty woman potentially lifestyle, right? Because he's the son of an oligarch in Russia, just drunk with money and alcohol and drugs too. But Matt is getting praised, Anora, as like one of the best films of the year. It was initially it was in my top 10 or top 5, but it got pushed out because of Steve McQueen's latest film is supposed to be coming out as well. I was going back and forth between those two. I ended up choosing Steve McQueen's. But what are your thoughts on Anora? Is it one of the best films of the year? Is Sean Baker back on track for you as he may be for me here, I'm thinking?
Yeah, I think he's back on track. I mean, I'm with you. I wasn't a huge fan of Red Rocket. But overall, I think this is one of the better films we've seen this year. I think it's a good segue into award season. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of these. It'll be interesting to see if it can manage to hold its own, if it can manage to kind of keep its footing or its position as one of the better films of the year. I have my doubts, but we shall see. But overall, I think this is a very successful turn. I think Mikey Madison is great in it. I think it's very funny at times. It's also very sad and ends on quite a down note, and it is kind of depressing. But it's not but it's not like it's a one-timer watch either, right? It's kind of very bittersweet at the same time. So I think overall, I think this kind of goes back to Baker's triumph of the human spirit kind of things, even though life tries to beat you down. And while it necessarily doesn't end on a high note for Annie, I don't think it's like the end for her.
Yeah, Baker is like the Chumbawamba of filmmakers working today. I think that's entirely right. I think Anora, too, had the funniest scene I have seen all year. When the home invasion scene.
Yeah.
When they basically come to find out are they really married or not. And that thing, I was laughing out loud throughout that whole thing. A couple of people, I maybe heard one other chuckle behind me in the theater, and I had a pretty packed theater, which I was very happy about. But I don't know if people knew that the film was going to lean heavy into humor at times. But I mean, I had a blast with this. And I also want to praise not just Mikey, who I do think will get an Oscar nomination, and she absolutely should. She is fantastic in this. But Yura Barzov, who plays, I guess, I don't know, is he an enforcer or something like that? He plays Igor. He's the henchman for Toros, who's kind of the guy who's in charge of Vanya to kind of keep him out of trouble. But he brings like a sensitivity and level-headedness to the entire proceedings. He's like the only one who kind of, I think, sees the absurdity of everything that's happening.
Right.
And sees everybody as kind of human beings, really. Like Mikey, her Annie looks at people more as, how do I not get ahead, but, just try and get the life I really want to have. And everybody else has their own kind of motivations. But I think what's one of the key successes of the film for me, and particularly what Sean Baker's film generally, what his films do, is he grounds his characters firmly in a living, breathing reality. And what I was so amazed by is that it's incredible, given the environment we're dropped into in this film, where Annie is basically a sex worker in New York on this crazy odyssey of an adventure trying to track... I keep blanking on Vanya's name because I want to say Ivan, but I want to say Vanya at the same time, and I'm like trying to combine the two names. But once they show up to kind of tell him, listen, you got to get this marriage annulled, and his parents are flying in from Russia, he bolts, and they got to spend the rest of like the second half of the film tracking him down. But it's a crazy environment, but at the same time, Matt, it feels entirely real and plausible and authentic. And I think that's the power, that's the magic that Baker brings to his films, right? Because they don't really, also they don't want, let me stop there. Do you agree with that at all? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I think, yes, I do believe it does feel like all of his films feel like rooted in their own reality. And I think this one is no different, right? Now, whether you really buy into that reality or really think it's like something that it could truly exist, I guess that's up for debate, right? I think Red Rocket, its reality is partly part of its downfall. It doesn't quite work for you, whereas something in like the Florida Project is incredibly real, and it's almost a little too real, but that's what makes it so great, right? I think this kind of straddles that line a little bit, where it's just the little bit of, I guess, almost like, I hesitate to say magical realism, but like, a fantastical element to it where it's almost got this, like you said, Pretty Woman, almost Cinderella type quality to it. But at the same time, it's got that, it's like Cinderella of the wrong side of the tracks kind of thing going. So I think it all works. And I think it is a return to form from it. I'll be kind of curious, maybe at the end of this, we can say, where does this fall in the Baker pantheon for us?
Oh, that's a good question. We should definitely do that. So I should clarify things too. I misunderstood. He hired Mikey basically without an audition after seeing her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Scream. But the story is actually based on something similar that happened to a Russian-American friend of his who had gotten married, and then they were kidnapped for collateral for something. I don't know, which is crazy. All right, I'd like to hear more about that story too. But yeah, no, after seeing Madison, he didn't even audition her. He hired her. She learned Russian. She visited strip clubs for the role, and I think for me perfected that accent. I think it's it's absolutely fantastic. So, all right, Matt, that's great. And I think another thing too is the interpersonal relationship between Vanya and Annie is also very, I think, interesting because they both look at each other as just ways out,
Right.
right? And there may be some actual like emotion and stuff, but it's maybe more of a dependency as what they represent to each other more than it is an actual love. And there may actually be some other potential budding relationship going on between her and another character in the film as well. Somebody who really seems to see her who she really is as a person. And I think at the end, that scene at the end when she gets that gift and then how she reacts to thank that person. And then realizes the cycle that she's in and has that breakdown, I think. At least that's how I interpreted that scene, Matt. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah. No, yeah, that seems to be like the right interpretation.
Yeah, it's just, it's heartbreaking. And I think that's one of the successes of this film is Baker seamlessly weaves in and out of all these genres, I think, masterfully. You have your Pretty Woman fairy tale, you have the drama, there's a thriller aspect to it, there's a romance part, and it is at times absolutely hilarious. And the film has a sense of urgency, of propulsion, Matt, that I think we haven't seen since Uncut Gems. It really kind of feels like this comedy of errors at times, but still really thrilling and engaging the entire time. And I hope Yura Barzov gets a nomination too. He's like, I guess, considered one of globally outside of the States, like one of the world's best working actors right now. Okay. He's won a bunch of awards, like I think in Russia and maybe in Europe and stuff. So he's like a big star, like in Europe and Russia. So it's, yeah, I'm giving Anora an A, Matt. It's one of my favorite films of the year.
Yeah, I agree that it's one of my favorite films of the year. I think I give it an A-.
Okay.
And weirdly, I'm not comparing it against the films of the year. I'm more comparing it to Sean Baker's other works. If the Florida Project is my A, this is an A-.
Oh, that's interesting. All right, so now I confess I have not seen all of Baker's films. I have not seen Four Letter Words. I haven't seen Takeout. I haven't seen Prince of Broadway, nor have I seen Starlet. So now I guess I have homework. I've seen Tangerine. That was the first film of his I saw because the word of mouth was so great, and I loved it. Florida Project, Red Rocket, sideways thumb on that one, and then Anora.
Right.
So out of those four, I think I'm going to go Anora 1.
Really? You liked it more than you liked the Florida Project?
I enjoyed the experience more. Florida Project is, for all of its heart, is crushing.
Right.
So I guess I go Red Rocket, Tangerine, Florida Project, and Anora. Oh, I don't know, man. You ask me tomorrow, I could flip-flop Anora and Florida Project, though, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you? I guess you're pretty similar, except you're clearly going to go Florida 1.
Yeah, I think Florida Project. I think while it is a tougher sit, I think it's a realer sit, and it's much more. I think it's not to say that Anora is a bad film by any stretch of the imagination. I just think it's a better film, right? It's one of those lightning in a bottle films. So yeah, I would say Florida Project, Anora, Tangerine, and then Red Rocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I have to watch Florida Project again, too. I don't know. I think I like the somewhat grounded fairy tale story of Anora, too. I don't know. It's just again, I cannot express to you how great that home invasion scene is. It was so hilarious. Like, even the scene when they're sitting in the diner eating burgers, right? I saw that. I think was it BJ Colangelo or somebody mentioned this on Twitter. I'm like, that's exactly right. Where they're like, only Baker is like, he has people eat like they actually eat instead of taking a little bit of a bite of food and then having a long conversation, right?
Right.
And it's just, it adds to the comedy, but it also adds another sense of just authenticity to the proceedings. So, all right. Anora, one of the best films of the year, I say. I anticipate some Oscar noms. I'm going to go right now. I'm going to predict right now, Matt. You ready? Let's see if this turns out.
Okay.
I'm going actress, Supporting actor for Yuri, that's the stretch. I don't know about
Yeah.
that one, but that's my stretch.
Yeah.
Original screenplay for sure.
Sure.
And then, I'm wondering about direction and best picture. Well, you know what?
still-
Up to 10, I'm going to throw it in there. I we'll see what happens. Because here's my list of my favorite films of the year right now. I have Love Lies Bleeding, Civil War, Fall Guy, Furiosa, Thelma, Kinds of Kindness, Maxine, Long Legs, and The Substance.
I think
I feel like
any
I'm forgetting
genre
something.
film in there is not making the cut.
Yeah. Now we still have stuff that's set to come out. I'd probably throw Strange Darling on there too. I got to update my list. And then what do we got coming out yet? See, here's the thing, Matt. I don't know how strong the rest of the year is. So you have Gladiator 2, Wicked. Queers coming out. I don't know if that's going to find a big audience, a mass audience. Night Bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think that's going to. Well, maybe it will. Maybe I'll absolutely love it. I don't know. I'm sure there's stuff that I'm just not aware of as yet, too. As Matt says, this is the beginning. Mufasa the Lion King. The Brutalist will definitely get a bunch of nominations, I'm sure. Nosferatu, possibly.
Maybe.
A Complete Unknown. Oh, yeah. Hollywood loves those biopics. That's the Bob Dylan one with Chalamet.
God, gross.
So, The Fire Inside, maybe. Oh, that Nicole Kidman Baby Girl movie. I saw a trailer for that. That looks,
Yeah.
I'll say interesting.
Well, that's a good word for it.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, I'm feeling bullish. Anora's gonna get all of those. I'm going all. I'll say Best Picture too. I'm director. I'm on the fence, but yeah. You want to make any bold predictions as well?
No, I don't think it'll get director. I think there's a solid chance it'll get Best Picture, depending on how far it goes. I don't think it'll win. I don't think it's already got the groundswell of what people are going to like for it to win, but
Probably.
I think I could see it getting nominated.
Good. I like that. If you had a chance to see Anora, it is currently in theaters. Please go out and support the Sean Baker's little indie that could, I guess. Let's give it another win for Neon Cinemas, please. That'd be great. Matt, let's talk about what's coming up on physical. Oh, have you seen it? Feedback at thefirstrun.com. Hit us up, bro. And bras, people. Whoever you identify, we'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email. Feedback at thefirstrun.com. Coming up on physical media this upcoming Tuesday, November 19th. Holiday season's coming, and we are getting a ton of stuff.
Introduce the American to the men.
Very well. This is Chevalier, Montage, Détente, Avant-garde, and Déjà Vu.
Have we not met before, monsieur?
I don't think so.
Au revoir. Croissant, soufflé, escargot, and chocolat mousse.
That's right, folks. The Zaz collection is being released in 4K this upcoming Tuesday. Includes the Naked Gun Airplane and then what you just heard there, a clip from Top Secret. So you can pick those up in 4K Tuesday, the 19th of November. All right, let's count them down. Maddie, number 5.
Number 5?
Tommy, the Japanese horror film. I never saw it, but it was one of the big launch when J-horror was really blowing up in the States. About a traumatized young woman who's trying to recover her memories with the help of a psychiatrist. During her hypnosis sessions, Matt, she repeats the name Tommy, but isn't able to recall where she knows it from. Get a high-definition transfer on that bad bear, brand new audio commentary, and more. Next up,
4.
Speak No Evil. This is the James McAvoy reboot. It's being released. We just watched for the show. Matt liked it more than me. I was a little underwhelmed. That's because I saw the original, I think it was Danish version, like a week before on Shudder, and was absolutely blown away by it. This one, it's basically like an Americanized version. You get your happy ending, maybe, that you don't quite get in the original. So that's all I'll say.
I'm giving you to the count of 3 to get out of here, then I'm coming across the kitchen shooting you.
I forgot about the laugh at the end, or the scream. Beetlejuice, Matt, is being released. This is the long-awaited, maybe, I'm sure, some people, sequel to Beetlejuice. I'm glad I had to spell that out for you. There's also a Steelbook available. There's a Dolby Atmos audio track, audio commentary by Tim Burton. The juice is loose. The making of Beetlejuice, and more. I wonder if there's a special feature on what happened to the dad. Why he wasn't in the movie. Matt, I think we were both in the end. What's funny, I look at the grade. I think we gave it okay grades.
Yeah.
The further away I am from it, we both gave it a B. The less satisfied I am with it, particularly the conclusion at the church in the end. Right. Really, the film comes to a shrieking halt. And I like the mystery build-up part. Well, just listen to that episode. You can hear me talk about it then. How's that sound? Where are we? 2? 3? 2.
I have 2 words. Perfect love and perfect trust.
I need to find like another 3 or a 2 what that's like this one.
4.
I mean, I haven't. What I do is I peruse the Criterion channel because they're cool, where you could actually pull up the screenplay.
Yeah.
For the film, and I just search for the number 2. Or maybe I should just do TOO because nobody would really know, or TO.
Fair.
Or maybe French, like do.
Duh.
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 Dose.
Duh. Number 2. The Frank Capra collection, $145. But if you're a Capra fan, this is a set for you. Includes some Blu-rays and some 4Ks. So in this box set you get So This Is Love, The Way of the Strong, The Certain Thing, Submarine in 4K, The Younger Generation in 4K, Flight, Ladies of Leisure, Rain or Shine, 2 cuts of that film, Dirigible in 4K, The Miracle Woman, Platinum Blonde in 4K, American Madness, The Bitter Tea of General Yen, Forbidden, Lady for a Day, It Happened One Night in 4K, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town in 4K, Lost Horizon 4K, You Can't Take It With You in 4K, and then finally Mr. Smith Goes to Washington in 4K. Also includes a documentary called Mr. America, Frank Capra. And then your number 1?
There can be only one!
Matt, the 4K releases this week, there are some big, big ones. But I think for me, I wonder what you would go if you were doing this segment. I'm going to go with this one, and then I'll tell you the next one, and you can tell me if I was wrong. North by Northwest, Alfred Hitchcock's classic film with Clark Gable. Cary Grant is being released. There's a steelbook, a regular version, and if you want to import one from, I think, the UK, there is a gorgeous box set with a bunch of stuff in it. Just knickknacks and things, but still. And then your other options, Matt, coming out in 4K, I wonder if this is what you would have went with. Terminator is being released as well, which would have been your number 1.
Yeah, I guess I probably would have gone with Terminator.
Okay.
Not to say North by Northwest is not great.
Steelbook available as well on that one. 4K restoration of the film, Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos audio track, creating the Terminator, visual effects and music, 7 deleted scenes, and more. From what I understand, they actually restored the original stereo track, which has not, I think, previously been available in prior DVD or Blu-ray versions of the film. And we'll have to see, because I'm sure Cameron messed with it like he did the other films. There's some AI correction stuff, maybe. I'm not sure, but we'll have to see what happens on that one. I did not order the Steelbook on that one. I ordered the traditional edition, so hopefully I'll get that soon. I still haven't gotten my Nightmare on Elm Street Steelbook.
Really?
Yeah, I ordered that basically the day they announced it, and Amazon's not supposed to send it to me until end of this month, into early December, which I'm very disappointed by. Orbit DVD has the UK Nightmare box set. It's really cool looking. It has a whole bunch of stuff with it, including like a hardcover book that kind of runs through the film. But it's like $60, and I'm like, I'm already dropping like 30 for this Steelbook. I don't know if I can justify something like that.
Yeah,
but it's gorgeous. Check it out if you're a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I think they still have some up as of the recording of this show available. Arrow is also putting out the Sam Raimi film A Simple Plan in 4K. You get a brand new audio commentary by some of the crew, newly filmed interviews, and this is a 4K restoration from the original negative, approved by Sam Raimi himself. Criterion is also putting out in 4K Funny Girl, the Barbra Streisand film, with a brand new 4K digital restoration, and a new interview with Babs as well. And then you can get steelbooks of Blazing Saddles, and let me tell you, it's ugly. The Blazing Saddles Steelbook is just, it's just bad. It's bad. A whole bunch of Clint Eastwood 4Ks, Matt. Play Missy for Me, the Iger Sanction, and 2 Mules for Sister Sarah. The 1994 version of Little Women in 4K. And then finally, I did not buy it because it's just too big. And I think it was, like $80, $90. I'm just going to wait for it to get like a single disc. There's a Steelbook at Walmart, but it's sold out. I probably would have jumped on that, but it's sold out. I just not a big Steelbook fan. They'll put out a standard release at some point, but the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, Matt, brand new 4Ks from Shout Factory. And the what's cool about it is the Dark Crystal one, Matt, has it's like a snow globe type thing with a crystal in it, and then Labyrinth has like the glass ball, that Bowie has in it as well. And then a whole bunch of other stuff. If you go to Shout Factory and look them both up, you'll see they're cool. They got lots of neat stuff, but I just can't justify spending the money for stuff like that. But if you're into it, then that's good for you. Your Viper Video Pick of the Week. Remember to go to vipervideotampa.com and order some cool stuff and tell Shelby we said hi at the first run. And like I said, he'll probably say who. The Twisters. Dozens of deadly tornadoes, Matt, converge in the Midwest, merging into a mega twister set to obliterate everything for hundreds of miles. Not sure what they're trying to cash in on, but now you can see The Twisters. Oh. What should we be streaming this week, Matt?
So I'm going to recommend one of the better superhero movies that's come out in a long while. Deadpool and Wolverine is available on Disney Plus for your viewing pleasure. Pretty good as our one Marvel movie of the year. I think it was a solid entry into the MCU.
I'm really hoping we get a deal on that on Black Friday, but I am not confident. I think that regular 4K disc, Matt, I think it's still sitting at like $30.
Yeah, it's Disney for you.
God, jerks. All right, let's keep it going and spend a few minutes talking about Hugh Grant being all kinds of weird in Heretic.
As I understand it, stop me when I go wrong, he was visited in the night by an angel called Moroni.
Yeah.
Who showed him where he could locate some golden plates near his home. His mysterious translation of those plates form the basis of this.
Wow! No, you read more than we do. No, seriously, we should be more like you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed.
Pie smells amazing.
And now that you've been studying the Book of Mormon, how does it make you feel?
Can you guess what kind of pie she's making?
Is it blueberry pie?
It is blueberry pie.
I knew it, my favorite.
Going back, can I ask, how did your father pass away?
Rough. Wow. Just going to go right back into that, Matt. What's your favorite pie, Matt?
What is my favorite pie? I would say, you know what? It is pecan pie or pecan pie, depending on what part of the country you're from.
Coffee and pie. Oh, my. I'm going to go apple, Matt. I'm a little classic. I'm going to go with apple.
Classic. There you go.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the classics.
I watched Brick again last week. It's been a while. I love that movie so much. I don't know if the ending works as well as I used to think it does.
Right.
But everything leading up to that, man.
A+.
Chef's kiss. Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it. I started doing things now. I've been dealing with a bit of depression. I think I talked about it last week in the show, too.
You did, yeah.
There's certain things I can't partake in right now that I used to do. So I uploaded like Glengarry Glen Ross on my phone, and I'll just put it on while I'm doing other things and just listen to it. That movie I probably watch once every couple of weeks.
Really?
Because I don't even bother putting it on Letterboxd anymore because I play it at least once a week. But it's a background thing. Like if I'm working on something that's like mindless or doing something, I just pop it on. Because I know that movie front to back, and I can quote it, and it's fun for me, which is a weird thing to say maybe about Glengarry Glen Ross. Matt, what is Heretic all about?
So, two Mormon missionaries, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, are out doing their mission work. They are knocking on doors, setting up appointments, and they set up an appointment to go meet up with Hugh Grant's character, who has said he is more interested in hearing more about their religion and the Book of Mormon. Well, after promising that his wife is around so that they are safe to come into the house with him, he starts showing them his full depth of religious knowledge, and decides that he wants to give them a test. And in order for them to leave, they have to pass said test.
Yeah. It's getting a pretty good review, Pat. People seem to be enjoying Heretic. And I will say, there are things about Heretic I actually really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the core of that, the focus of that, is Hugh Grant.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sophie Thatcher's good in it too. I was really unfamiliar with her. I had to look her up, and I realized she was in Prospect, which we did for the show a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then Blink, The Boogeyman, Maxine, which I totally spaced on her being in.
Yeah.
And now we have Heretic. And the film, for Matt, this film lives and dies for me on Hugh Grant.
Mm-hmm.
I think his effortless charm ropes us in. He kind of keeps this engine humming along. He's integral to the film. And I don't know if the movie would have worked without him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the issue I have with this film is that it's oddly scareless. At least it was for me. And I was more intrigued by the back and forth discussions, the potential cat and mouse part of everything. The exploration of religion and what it means to people. And it felt like it's like a movie based on the new atheist kind of movement that was all the rage like 10, 20 years ago or 15 years ago.
Sure.
Except that one of the guys here is clearly nuts.
Right.
And not that, well, anyway. I don't know, Matt. I've been vacillating back and forth on this. I think it's worth watching because Grant is so interesting in it. And I think using his inherent charm to kind of bring us in for this weird little philosophical thriller is okay. It's good. I don't know, Matt. Where do you come down on Heretic?
So I would say for the first half, maybe 2/3 of this thing, I'm really on board with it. I think, the kind of build up, showing us who these women are. Like you said, once they get to Hugh Grant's house, the kind of back and forth and how he's kind of setting up these logic traps, and, one of them's kind of onto him from the get-go, while the other one's just kind of blissfully walking into everything that he sets up. And then kind of the, unease that turns to terror as they kind of, realize that they're trapped in here with him, and what's he going to do? And we as the audience don't really know what his plan is. And I think all of that is incredibly well done. I think you're right. It completely rests on Hugh Grant and his charms and everything like that, and his kind of disarming effect. And even just like when he's like, when they're like, oh, we want to leave, and he's like, sure, you can go ahead, just leave. And he sells it so well. The film starts to kind of fall apart once they kind of separate from him in space, right? And it's like them and where they are, and he's doing his thing up here. And that's when it kind of falls apart for me. The rest of it, the kind of payoff and all this other stuff that happens, is it turns, exciting, but it's nothing particularly earth shattering. And it kind of loses a lot of its edge and its charms. And I was kind of disappointed about that. I almost wish, and this may be a slight spoiler, I wish it was more supernatural or maybe even sinister, right? In the sense of, maybe he's some kind of neo-pagan Satanist or some shit. I don't know. But like something like that, I think would have been a more interesting, or at least a potentially scarier horror film than necessarily what we got.
Yeah, I feel like they just watched a Christopher Dawkins or a Richard Dawkins, or a Christopher Hitchens debate with somebody, and then just kind of tried to build a horror thriller around that structure.
Right.
And it just, in the end, like you said, Matt, I think it does kind of fall apart at the end, and as a whole, it didn't work for me. I still enjoyed most of it because of Hugh Grant. In fact, my grade probably is a little higher than it should be because of how much I liked him in this role. When I was going through it, so it's written and directed by this team, Scott Beck and Brian Woods. So, all right, let me take a look at what they did. And I'm like, oh no, They did 65.
Oh.
Which is that Adam Driver prehistoric sci-fi film that is just, bad, I think, is being kind. So I think this was much of an improvement over that. That's for sure. And I guess they wrote A Quiet Place, so the first one.
Okay.
But still, I don't know. It's just, I don't think it's as clever as it thinks it is. And for me, the real lack of scares and horror is to the film's detriment. And in the end, when you find out what's happening and stuff, it just deflates the entire film for me. Not that I could really think that could go anywhere else, unless you go with Matt's kind of supernatural route.
Mm-hmm.
But it just feels flat. The whole thing feels flat from the last third of the film. So it's just disappointing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at a B- C+, and I'm going B-, I think, just because of how much I enjoyed Hugh Grant in the film.
Yeah, same. I think I'm going with B-. It's a very low B-. It's a very tenuous, do better next time kind of thing. But I still overall enjoyed it. And by the way, just because you mentioned A Quiet Place, I finally watched A Quiet Place day one. Pretty enjoyable, pretty fun. I think it's probably the one I like the most out of all three of them.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I gotta get on that then. Thank you, Matt, for that. If you had a chance to see Heretic, which is currently playing in theaters, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's wrap up the show and share our 5 favorite against type performances. I convinced myself that we had done this before, and I went on the site and did a search, and we did a side kind of thing of this where it was during Nobody, the Bob Odenkirk film, and we said against type action stars we'd like to see. So we suggested people that could do an action film that would be against type. So I can't believe, out of how many years we've been doing this, that we haven't done this before. Maybe I have to go much further back into the archives. I don't know. But either way, it's been a while. So enjoy this part. And here's one that didn't make the cut for me.
This is Les Grossman. Who is this?
This is Flaming Dragon!
Oh, okay. Flaming Dragon. Fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face! Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here, but Asia Jack is my territory. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly fucking firestorm upon you. You're gonna have to call the fucking United Nations and get a fucking binding resolution to keep me from fucking destroying you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker! I will massacre you! I will fuck you up! Did you find out who that was?
I love that part at the end. Did you find out who that was? That, of course, is Tom Cruise as Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder. I also had Tom Cruise on here under Collateral, where he plays the hitman with Jamie Foxx driving him around all night, go from hit to hit. But why don't you start us off, Matt? What's your 5th favorite against type performance?
Okay, let me see here. I should have been more prepared. I don't have it up, but here we go. All right, so my number 5 then is Charlize Theron and her turn as serial killer Eileen Wuornos in the biopic Monster. Charlize Theron is a very, we'll say attractive woman, kind of underselling it, and she kind of goes through this, not only this physical transformation, she really commits to the voice and her mannerisms and her wild-eyed take, and it's really just furthest from kind of like the roles that she has been known for before and since as kind of the action hero that she's become. So I thought it was a role that she certainly disappeared into. And if you looked at it, if you didn't know it was Charlize Theron, at first glance you could be forgiven not realizing that's her.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick, Matt. That's basically like my number 6. I thought about making it my 5, but I don't know. I needed a little levity in my life. So I actually went with Leslie Nielsen in Airplane as my 5. Before that, he was actually a dramatic actor, lead, did some sci-fi stuff as well. But he was not the Leslie Nielsen that we all ended up becoming. He's one of those actors who had a second career by diving headlong into comedy and being part of that Zaz group. Police Squad, the show, only ran for 6 episodes, Matt, but I found the show I always found it really funny too. And then of course he did kind of do some of the other stuff like Dracula, Dead and Loving It, and some other like less successful things. But Nielsen, as I said, found a second life to his career with The Airplane and doing all those comedies for the rest of it. And so yeah, I guess Leslie's my number 5. It's funny too because people wouldn't even, I think, of our generation and younger would have no idea that he was a big time, but a dramatic actor for years until then.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Honorable mention for me, but yeah, it's hard to imagine Leslie Nielsen as anything other than a comedic actor at this point for a certain set of people. All right, so then my number 4, and I have a feeling I'm stealing some of Chris's thunder. It cannot be overstated,
probably,
how unlikely it was for Michael Keaton to play Batman in 1989's Tim Burton version. Michael Keaton was always known as kind of a comedic actor, more or like even a dramedy at most type actor. So the idea that he could be menacing and physical was completely unheard of, and he knocked it out of the park. He became the Batman for an entire generation of people, and was kind of like the top version of it for a really long time, and maybe even to this day, depending on who you talk to.
Not familiar. All right, my number 4 then is Patrick Stewart in Green Room, where he plays the head Nazi. If you're not familiar with the Green Room, one of Matt's favorite films, Jeremy Saulnier's movie with Anton Yelchin. He's part of a punk band, and they're desperate, Matt, for money, and they decide to take a show, perform at a neo-Nazi kind of club, and they witness something they shouldn't see. And Stewart is the head guy in charge. And some people are going to earn their red laces tonight in Green Room. One of the more intense thrillers of the past probably 10 years. Ultra violent, disturbing, but it's a film that grabs you by your throat. And then just watching Stewart's calm, steely demeanor throughout that entire thing, after seeing him, for me, basically as Captain Picard my whole life, was incredible to watch. He is just terrifying in that film. You're waiting for him to be kind of old Uncle Pat's too, but it just never happens.
Yeah.
So he's my 4.
That's a great pick. Yeah, I didn't even think of that, but Patrick Stewart is like really game to play against type. I don't know. I know you're not really into, like adult cartoons or like but him on American Dad playing as the insane CIA director that nobody seems to care that he's the director of the CIA and is British is just fantastic as Avery Bullock. Just some of the shit that they get him to say is absolutely hilarious. All right, well, keeping this Batman train rolling, I'm gonna say my number 3 then is Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. Again, I can't tell you how apoplectic people were saying Heath Ledger playing the Joker. The guy from A Knight's Tale and 10 Things I Hate About You. This guy he's a teen comedy heartthrob. How is he going to play the Joker, one of the most iconic villains in comic bookdom? And, well, he shut up the haters real quick with his take on the force of chaos that is the Joker. And that is, probably will stand as a definitive performance of the Joker for a long time to come.
Yeah, I didn't catch that Ledger feedback or that
No?
backlash against
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I don't remember
They were
that
bad.
at all. That's interesting. I mean, I know the stuff with Keaton, and then of course when Daniel Craig was cast as James Bond, there's a lot of, but I wouldn't say he was against. I don't know. Craig definitely, I don't think was cast against type, especially just watch Layer Cake, and as soon as I saw that film, I'm like, oh, that guy needs to be James Bond. But I didn't realize that about Ledger. Fair enough. All right. My number 3 then is one of my favorite comedic actors and writers and directors, and it's Albert Brooks as Bernie Rose in Drive, one of my favorite films, where he plays the mob guy who fronts their deal to kind of get a stock car going, but the deal goes bad and things go worse. And but Brooks in that sinister role, after seeing he's so amiable and funny and charming in all of his films, And watching him, he shaved off his eyebrows for the film to kind of give it this kind of blank, almost detached look, and it works. And that scene where he gets introduced to Driver, to Ryan Gosling's character, he doesn't want to shake his hand because his hands are dirty, and he goes, "So are mine." I mean, it's so great. But yeah, Brooks is fantastic in Drive, so he's my number 3.
Yeah, Brooks is my number 2. Watching him in Drive, it's hard to believe that it's really, you would think that he'd been born to play like these menacing bad guys in every role that he's ever been in. He's so effective at it, as you know, and like Chris said, growing up, he was always this kind of amiable, like dad next door funny guy in all of his films. And now he's like this terrifying, at best acerbic, at worst, psychotic, good gangster in this film. So yeah, it was a huge turn for him.
There you go. My number 2 then is, I'm surprised it's so high on Matt's list, is Michael Keaton as Batman. I think the outroar Matt said was insane about that. How could you cast him? That's insane. He's not big enough. He doesn't have the chops. He's a comedian. He's a comedic actor. You can't have him play Batman. But Burton saw something in him and decided to roll with it, and it worked. It's iconic. It was a huge deal. Probably the only bright spot probably of that Flash film from a couple years ago. Is seeing Keaton in the suit again. But a comic book genre defining character performance. Michael Keaton was Batman for millions of people for the longest time, and like Matt said, probably still is. So I'm assuming that you and I have the same number 1. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, well, since you stole some of my thunder, I'm going to steal some of your thunder. So it's got to be yesteryear's Tom Hanks, Henry Fonda in Once Upon a Time in the West as the heavy Frank. It can't be overstated that Henry Fonda's roles, he's like a soft-spoken, gentle guy. And even in things like, 12 Angry Men, right? He's not the kind of guy that you would expect to have that kind of malice in him, that sense of dread. Like he could do anything. Like he's just death in boots, right? And that's what he is in Frank. And his turn in, Sergio Leone's best. I would say it is the best of the spaghetti westerns. It's the best of his westerns, and Henry Fonda's turn as Frank in it is the best villain, best heavy in any of those films.
Yeah, Matt's entirely right. It is Fonda. I mean, if anybody ever brings up this list or makes their own list, if Fonda's not number 1, I would almost disregard everything else they say. It is going as the pre-existing good guy, like the Jimmy Stewart, and I would say an honorable mention for me is Jimmy Stewart in Vertigo. But that kind of, like Matt said, Tom Hanks, that's who he was to the country, and to have him come in and play this just psychotic killer, it's fantastic, and it's chilling, it's terrifying, and it's wonderful to watch. It's really incredible. One of the favorite things too about him was, I guess, that Leone, he thought about wearing brown contacts to kind of blend in more with the role and stuff. And like, I guess Leone is like, absolutely not. Those blue eyes, I want them to pop. I want them to shimmer, and I want them to I want that to be there. And it's just it's fantastic. Yeah, Fonda has to be your number 1. Matt, any other honorable mentions?
Yeah, so Tom Cruise in Collateral, which you mentioned, Leslie Nielsen in Airplane, Tom Hanks, speaking of Tom Hanks as the mob enforcer / hitman in Road to Perdition, Jim Carrey as one of his big dramatic turns in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. No jokes in that at all, really. And I've never seen this, but I'm now intrigued, and I wanted to ask you if you had seen it. I guess Fred Astaire starred in a late 50s post-apocalyptic dystopian, like post-nuclear war flick called On the Beach that I guess is really outside of what you expect Fred Astaire to do. Obviously, no dancing.
Yeah, no, I haven't. So maybe I'll have to add it to the list. Interesting. My honorable mentions Matt didn't say. I guess one of the big ones is Denzel in Training Day. We talked about Bob Odenkirk in the opening of the show with Nobody. And I'd say, too, Woody Harrelson in Natural Born Killers. A film I do not like. But Harrelson in there is... after watching him on Cheers, you would have absolutely no idea what you were about to get yourself into. So, those are I guess my honorable mentions as well. What's your favorite acting or performance against type? Would love to hear from you. Feedback at thefirstrun.com. Matt, what's coming up next week on the big show?
Oh, we're getting into holiday season. We're going to go check out J.K. Simmons, which I'm always a fan of, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which I can mostly leave at this point, and Chris Evans, which I can take or leave, also leaning more to leave at this point in Red One.
Yeah, that'll be something.
That'll be a thing.
That goes. I don't like ripped Santas. I get it. I get the gag. I don't care for it. But we'll see. We'll see. Do you do any Christmas stuff yet? I got my lights out on the side of the house, in front of the house.
No, we have not. We were actually talking about that. We haven't put out any of our Christmas stuff yet. My mother-in-law is visiting, so we'll probably wait for her to leave this week, and then we'll start putting it up when we have, back to our normal routine.
I think I'm all in this weekend. I think we started doing it right the weekend after Halloween during the pandemic, just to get some joy in our lives. And we kind of stuck with it ever since.
Sure.
Though we're a little behind this year, because we just got a lot going on. But I did get the lights out inside the house, so I'm very happy about that.
Nice. It's exciting.
I guess that'll be that. So, all right. Oh, check us out. We're Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Is that everything? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Sure. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you'll find us. I think I'm down with Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. I think I'm going to deactivate my account. There's no reason for me to have it at this point.
I'm on Blue Sky. I think I might go there. It's sane. It seems like a nice community there.
Sure.
So I am already on there.
Yeah.
So you could check us out there as well. But I think I'm done. And probably another, I don't know, maybe this weekend I'll exit. And then where else? Oh, thefirstrun.com. Archive all the old shows. See the report card. I updated it like a week ago or so it's pretty up to date now in the report card. You can there's a little player there. Just hit play, and I'll start going through all the old shows if you want to just hang out and just listen to us all day, every day for the rest of your life. I wonder how long it would run. So let's. How long would the show run? So if we've had, this is episode 730 something or other.
734, I believe.
Yeah, it is 734. Look at you. 734. Say we average an hour. Oh, 734 hours.
Yeah.
Divide that by 24 hours in a day. 30 days straight.
Wow.
Give you a whole month of content if you did nothing else but listen to the show.
You would come to hate us after the first week.
That's it. All right, let's get out of here. Take care of yourselves. We love you all very much, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
You're him, aren't you? You're the Goblin King. I want my brother back, please, if it's all the same.
What's said is said.
But I didn't mean it.
Oh, you didn't?
Please. Where is he?
You know very well where he is.
Please bring him back. Please.
Sarah, go back to your room. Play with your toys and your costumes. Forget about the baby.